CMMS Radio talks about all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, focused on maintenance management. It's the people, the process, and the culture that make your CMMS journey a success. Today, we are talking to Peter Daigle. He is Program Manager at MaintainX. Now, a lot of you know MaintainX and a bunch of the people over there. A lot of them have been on CMMS Radio talking about the industry, not so much about the product, because that's what really matters. You know, CMMS, it's a tool. We want to understand more about the background, why it makes a difference. But he is going on 6 years tenure and recently wrote an article, and that was featured on automation.com. So you can check that out. It's titled AI is Reshaping Frontline Manufacturing. Here's what comes next. So we're going to get into a little bit of that today and some fun stuff, of course. And there it is, man. Peter Daigle, welcome to CMMS Radio, man.
Greg, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I've been looking forward to this. We worked it out. We got it scheduled, working with the team. And I think one of the things I'm always interested in, and I look at people's background and I want to understand, how did your journey and your extensive experience with account management lead you to MaintainX? And two-parter, how have you been able to learn so much about the industry in such a short period of time?
Yeah, love that. Experience as an account manager, how it brought me to MaintainX. Really, I've been working in software sales for the better part of a decade now. And through some connections that I've made across the different jobs that I've had, I got connected with some folks at MaintainX in the early days of the company and started playing around with the product, started meeting some of the people. I'm like, okay, I gotta go there. I have to figure out how to get there. Despite not having a whole lot of experience in the industrial manufacturing space. And then maybe to hit your second part of the question is how I got to learn so much from this. As an account manager, I've worked with probably close to about 2,000 customers in my tenure at MaintainX. And I ask a lot of questions. I'm curious. One of my favorite shows when I was younger was watching How It's Made on Discovery Channel. Yeah. And you would always watch just how everything got done. And I figured, hey, I can hear it directly from the people that are doing this for the stuff that I don't really think about on a day-to-day, how asphalt is made, how like boxes are made, how stuff is packaged and shipped out. So just really led with curiosity, asked a lot of questions and tried to figure out exactly the inner workings of how they operated, which made me a better account manager because I understood their day-to-day, understood their problems, and could try to help solve them.
Yeah, well, that's it. You said it right there with the understanding. And there's this kind of, I don't know if it's a theme or a common thing where we, overall industry people, a lot of the folks I know in my small core network, I tend to refer to them as real deal pros. They've got the experience, they've done the jobs, they've done all this stuff, they've deployed CMMS, they understand it's a tool, how to really use it. However, so we want that when we are clients and users of these solutions to implement as a tool for our teams. We want those kind of individuals involved. However, there is a way to learn when you don't have all of that on the shop floor, on the factory floor, out in the field experience. If you're really good at asking questions, better the question, the better the information you're going to get, but also listening and seeking to understand. And that's what's critical in my view about an account management role. Now, as a company, obviously, when we're doing account management, we want to retain those clients. But the way we retain those clients is by understanding them and delivering and kind of helping elevate them in their overall journey. So I just love that you've had, 2,000 plus customer interactions. It's probably more than that if we really were able to unpack it over this period of time. And you learn so much. You're talking to a maintenance manager, a reliability engineer. They're telling you exactly what they do and how they do it. And you're helping them make that possible within the platform without making them change what they do that's successful. Anyway, I'm talking too much, but here's another one about the article. One of the central themes in the article was maturity level, and I call it cultural readiness when it comes to leveraging AI. And there's an eye towards this critical importance of knowledge capture from our veterans of industry that are going to be retiring,
Mhm.
and most orgs still really struggle to adopt the AI. Why do you think that is?
Well, we're seeing more and more that are adopting it. If we compare how it is, like from we did a big report last year, and we surveyed like 1,300 customers that talk about this in the article, where over half of them are actually using AI these days in some capacity. It doesn't have to be one of our products, but anything. They're using ChatGPT to troubleshoot when they run into a scenario at work. Um, I think that's pretty impressive when we compare to just a few years ago, where it was probably in the range of like the 10% or so. So it is going up, but I think that where I've worked with some customers anecdotally that wasn't so much struggling to adopt, it was more about not ready to make that jump, not feeling like they're ready to make that jump, and waiting for AI to be perfect to make sure that it's always going to spit out the exact right answer. We can't get a wrong answer, so we're not going to use it just yet. We want to make sure that everyone's ready to trust it. But nothing's perfect out there. You go online and you search up some answers, you talk to somebody, you might get some wrong answers. So you build that trust by adopting it and by playing around with it, even just in small steps. Maybe the other part of it is just around like data foundation and setting it up. Unfortunately, there are still a lot of manufacturers out there that are operating off pen and paper or very messy data kind of scattered across Excel, scattered across CMMS or ERP systems that they're not using in a uniformized way across their facilities. And so it can be tough for AI to sort through chaos, or they can't really do it if it doesn't have the information that's digitized.
Yeah, and that was another thing that was explained in the article. And, for me, even if I go back and you talk about how many of these manufacturers and other types of organizations, pure facilities management, schools, all of it, there's a lot of that. Let's stick with what we know. Let's stay using the paper or the Excel files, and even something like smart sheets or something like
Mhm.
that people are just leveraging the best they can. And I think I've often thought it's because they're not quite sure what's going to happen during the deployment of technologies like a CMMS. They feel so much pressure and actual pain when they go through the deployment steps. And I wish it was easier for people to slow down, have a better plan, and then really redouble that effort during the deployment so that they can leverage all of these tools properly. So when you're in this account management role and you're interacting with everyone, when it comes to the AI itself, and incidentally, I love this idea that we have our veterans and kind of old school cowgirls and cowboys that are involved, so they can kind of keep an eye on it and say, yeah, you know what, this is pretty accurate, but let's watch out for
Mhm.
this and all that. But I want to talk about whether the push for AI within an organization, any manufacturer that you have as a client, and we don't have to talk about who they are, but are you seeing or hearing or finding that the C suite is far more interested in, hey, do we have AI? Are we using AI versus the frontline workforce?
I want to think back of like the customers that I've worked with, so my answer is a little anecdotal as well.
Sure.
But I haven't necessarily found so. I find when we're talking at like the high levels in the C-suite, we're talking about VPs of operations, they're definitely very excited about AI because AI can help take in all of the data, parse it out for them, and they can ask some neat questions and get the answers that they need to figure out how to streamline their operations.
Mhm.
Um, AI also comes with like almost like a badge of honor of we are operating with AI. So, we're exactly. We're taking that step in the right direction, which is absolutely true, right? It's out there and we're either adopting it and we're running with it, or we're kind of getting left behind. But at the same time, on the front line, we see it with a lot of turnover. There's a lot of turnover in like maintenance roles. People are tired, people burn out, and I think that a lot of that comes from a high load of having to know everything at the tip of our fingers because stuff can break down. And so that's where I've seen the frontliners be super willing to adopt AI. Like even before we really started rolling out our own product at MaintainX, people had started using ChatGPT, all these other tools where they can just, upload a manual and ask some questions or just source online to figure out, hey, GPT, this machine broke down. It's giving me this kind of error code. What's that all about? And to get some troubleshooting steps that they can start working with. So I'd say I'm seeing the excitement on both sides probably just as much. It just depends kind of where we're looking. Some people are more resistant, some people not, but I wouldn't say that it's specific to C-level versus frontline.
All right, and it's fair. I think we could get a lot of answers if we asked a lot of different people. It depends where you sit, the perspective, how
Mhm.
you're kind of hearing about it throughout the organizations that might be trying to adopt it. I certainly think for the frontline workforce, there's always these interesting opportunities for the aha moments when you show them or they see and finally realize, hey, yeah, that works. That works for me, and it's
Mhm.
it's solid. It's not going to jam me up. It's not going to get in my way. It's going to actually help. But a lot of times, CMMS providers, even people within the organization implementing it, they're wondering, well, why aren't people like adopting this? Well, they're busy. They're running around. They're putting out fires, and they just don't have that time. So it kind of disrupts their flow. But it's really interesting when it's working well and you're getting good, clean data. Maybe they're doing a lot of standardization within the CMMS, and then that AI component can start to clip and save those minutes here, those minutes there. And if somebody's babysitting it, in a way, maybe not 24/7, but scrutinizing it on a regular basis to make sure that it's accurate, and we avoid that concerning drift or hallucination, kind of tendency, which is a thing. It's an ongoing thing.
Absolutely.
It can really put wind back in your sails. And what I also love about AI inside of a CMMS is how, if you've got good clean data that matches up to your process, your people are adopting and putting in all the information, you can glean information much quicker than we ever could before. I like that part of it. The only part I'm real hesitant about, and I think it's common out there, is this really giving me the right information? And I also worry, and I want to ask you this.
Yeah.
I worry about people's willingness to engage with what they're doing, their critical thinking, and are they actually applying their brain and experience, as opposed to, hey, it's doing this, I'm gonna just go ahead and do that, and being lazy about it. Do you think that's a bit of a concern still for people, or do you think it is a legitimate concern?
I don't think it's that much more of a concern than it was before AI,
Hmm.
because AI is not coming in to come up with all these solutions that no one's ever thought of. AI is coming in to parse through a lot of information really quickly and then give us maybe some steps to take. And the way that I look at that is that that's not that much more different than if I was reading through potential steps to take in a manual, or
Mhm.
if I had spoken to a senior technician and he told me to go with this. If I'm out there and I'm going to shut my brain off and I'm just going to follow the step by steps of wherever I got that information, whether it's AI, someone, or a manual, and I'm not using my own judgment while I'm performing my task, I mean that's not so much the tool problem. Maybe that's the person problem that needs to apply their judgment, and then I can wind up in some bad scenarios, especially when we start talking about like potential safety risks as we're working with big machinery. So I don't think it is a problem that is specific to AI. I think it's got more of a spotlight because AI is so good at getting so many details and putting them all right in front of us, and people can make the mistake of bypassing their own judgment and just following that blindly. But you shouldn't do that. That's why having the human in the loop is really important. AI gives you the information, and the human is there to apply their judgment and to do what they think is right. And then feed that information back into the AI and then apply the judgment. And then you got a nice loop as both of them work better and better together.
Well, and that's interesting the way you put that, because I use this kind of term babysitter as somebody kind of being a watchdog on what's really happening, what's being done. And this is something I want to mention to everyone. When you have your CMMS, it could be MaintainX or something else. It is important that not just the administrator or administrators of the CMMS, but some other persons in those critical teams that do this work, manage this work, are responsible and accountable for this work. Someone needs to keep an eye on it on a regular basis. And you would do that or should do that even if you don't have an AI enabled product.
Mhm.
I think, and that's another thing about account management. I'm curious, when you're engaging with clients, are you also helping them with utilization of the platform, or do they typically lean on customer success for that? Or are you in a position when you're working with someone to just say, hey, let's take a look at that right now? I'm real curious about that.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of everything, especially since joined MaintainX in earlier days where we didn't have a customer success or a support department. So as an account manager, or as just about any sales rep, it was our job to make sure that they're using the system, they're loving it, they want to stick with us, they want to buy more. So that involved making sure that the utilization was there. So if we're seeing that someone purchased something with us, big or small, and a month, 2 months, 3 months go by and there's absolutely no usage, well, flags toss up, and it's our job more so today as the customer success reps to work with our customers and figure out why there isn't utilization and see how we can work at removing the blockers. But account managers are very much involved in that too. The best ones are the ones that ask a lot of questions, that are involved, that spot the flags and take initiative in tackling the problems.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's a pretty fun role to be in. And now, you're a program manager, so that's a whole different kind of a thing, because you're now you're kind of at that umbrella level where it's not just you. There's a team, a lot of strategy. What do you find are the common bits of positive feedback that you get from clients when it comes very specifically to the AI built into the platform?
Yeah, it's comes to time saving. If I can like really break that down, I haven't seen a lot of cases working with our customers so far where it was about like, we never would have solved this problem if it wasn't for AI. It's more about, we got to action and to solutions so much faster than we would have if I had to call this guy who then calls that guy because he remembers that this problem happened and he did this and he's trying to relay that information over the phone, or I'm looking for the manual, or whatever it is. There's a lot of running around that happens when there's breakdowns and there's unexpected things that happen on the manufacturing floor, which happens often. So you get to cut that time down. I have seen some wins of this where the answers weren't in manuals and people used AI and found different answers that they didn't quite think of when they were taking pictures of the asset, and AI was able to see something that maybe the technician missed when they were uploading it. So there's these nice little wins, but the one I hear the most is just, it's time saving.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's possibly the best use of AI, machine learning, using good, clean data. We want to have good, clean data that's accurate and contextual, and we can literally rifle through that data like in a heartbeat. And
Hmm.
it's not necessarily give me more and more and more data. It's give me good, clean data that is a true reflection, or that kind of digitized example of what we're actually doing, what we're not doing, so we get better visibility. But some of these reports you're going to craft within a CMMS platform, you run it on the system, you push it outside of the system, you're messing with it in Excel or whatever the case may be, whichever solutions you're using. And now with AI, you really can't expedite that. And we don't want it manipulating the data. We want it organizing the data and further contextualizing it so that we can make better decisions. I mean,
Exactly.
those minutes and hours add up a lot, and that's a legitimate savings. There's another aspect to this. When it comes to, and this is kind of from the article, but also kind of a long-standing thing, that when we start to do that, there's this interesting perspective I have on how a CMMS could help you identify gaps in your culture. And I'm not talking about that culture of hesitation to adopt AI, but if you have a good, strong, fundamental kind of basics type team, right? They're moving well, they do the right things, and they start to maybe falter a little bit and they don't know it. They're doing a little more reactive. They're doing more firefighting all of a sudden. This can help you more quickly get to that information and see where you might have some gaps, and it creates opportunities to not fall so far behind. Um, what what would you say is your, now this is very specific to you, your best advice for MaintainX clients or folks that are considering leveraging AI in any CMMS platform to get this journey right from the start?
Good data foundation. That would probably be where I start. That's where I've been speaking with customers anytime we were, either selling our products or in the role of program manager here, and I'm working with customers to help with their adoption. It's all about setting up a good data foundation. Any CMMS system that you're using, have your procedures in place, have your categories, have the information that is put in properly, have complete information that is there, have your manuals for your assets in there, because the better data you put in, the better data you're gonna get out. And then that helps the trust culture in a great way, because if you're getting good information out of it, you're building that trust back. We've been, this thing, garbage in, garbage out, has existed long before AI, and I think it's still true today. You have to have that good foundation to get started as you're going to mature as a company in your digital transformation, and eventually move from like reactive and preventative maintenance to all the way to predictive maintenance, where you're working with your sensors, with your SCADA systems, whatever is in place. But it's a journey, and I think it starts with just getting a good data foundation and getting some quick touch points and wins using AI, whatever system you're going to wind up using.
Yeah, and there's going to be nuances to that, and some people are really just starting out. They don't have data to use starting out. Some have existing data that could be cleaned up. You mentioned SCADA, and it reminded me that you guys are going to be at the Prove It conference out in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Are you personally going to be there, or you
I
don't
won't
know?
be able to make it, but we got some
Okay.
great folks on our team that are going to be there.
Yeah, and I think, this overall thing when it comes to why are we getting these tools? What are we really trying to do? We're trying to create visibility. Oftentimes, I've heard for years and years, a couple of decades, people think using the platform, whether it's mobile or at their desk, it's like they're keeping an eye on me, and that's not what it is. But when you talk about SCADA, or if we think about unified namespace, that's where everything is really focused now. When people are climbing that maturity ladder, maintenance maturity ladder, organizational technological maturity ladder, to really create more and more of a connected system across the entire organization, but at the same time allowing people to do what they do, kind of stay in their lane, but it creates those opportunities for visibility. Do you find that AI, at least at this time, the way you're using it inside of MaintainX, helps and makes it easier to make the connections from system to system? Or is that less an AI thing?
It's I'm speaking from our system right now, which is where I'm obviously the most comfortable.
Yeah.
It's getting there more and more, because AI is going to help with kind of all the machine learning, and it's going to start being able to help identify patterns, rather than even just necessarily relying on a sensor that's going to read like an odd vibration or a spike in humidity. The goal is, when we get to predictive maintenance, it's spotting it even before these sensors and SCADA systems are. So yes, I do think AI is heavily involved in that. Are we there just yet? We're making our way, but yeah, that's kind of the final stage in that maturity model that we're striving to get to be able to support our customers and want to bring our customers up with us.
Yeah, something I learned from he's a dear friend of mine. He's one of these real deal pros that's part of my core network. His name's Matt Knuth, and he basically, I might be butchering this, so Matt, don't get too mad at me if I butcher it. But when you talk about predictive maintenance, the actual goal with predictive maintenance is to have that prediction very far ahead of time. So you really have better visibility. It's not this week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months. You want to see things coming from much further away, because most of these things in manufacturing environments, whether it's pulp and paper, oil and gas, all these things, right? It takes time to set up for what you have to do from a maintenance perspective to then lead you into more of a reliable environment. We're talking about reliability. And that's a critical component too. And I think AI plays a role in it. I'm still one of those, hey, I'm skeptic, drift, hallucinations, false alarms, false positives, false negatives. So I'm always worried about that. And I always like to ask, what are you guys doing to mitigate that? That's a pretty tough one, though. You might not have an answer yet.
Yeah, I definitely don't have an answer yet. I'm getting started as in my journey along with automations and all of that stuff. So maybe that's a question you can ask me next time, and I'll be confident in giving you an answer.
Yeah, well, and you know what? I like that, because when we talk real about the things we're dealing with, what we've experienced, we want to hear about solutions, but we also want to hear about failures. And it's important when someone can say, hey, you know what? I don't know yet. I'm not quite ready to jump in on that question and take a shot at it. And that's important. People have to understand when someone's willing to do that, that's very telling of something good. So I appreciate that. I want to move you now into what we call the fun question segment on CMMS Radio. It's for first timers. It's a little bit of fun. These are not trick questions. There are no wrong answers. So I'll just ask them, and then you just fire away with an answer. You ready?
Perfect. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Fun question number 1. What is your favorite music?
Oh, good question. I'm a big rock guy. From the guitars behind me, played a lot of, alternative rock growing up in the 90s. So that has still stuck with me.
Yeah, nice. I like that one, obviously.
I'm pandering a little bit.
Yeah, nah, man, it's all good stuff. I mean, we get all different answers on that. So it's just, again, fun. And next one, second question is, what is your favorite sport or hobby? And on sport, it does not have to be one that you play or played. It could be one you like to watch and cheer for and root for.
Skiing. I'm up in Montreal, and we've got like a slew of mountains about 45 minutes away from where I live. So I do a lot of skiing with my wife and my kids.
Nice. So would that be the same area where Whistler is?
No, Whistler's a little far away. That's way out west. I'm more out east.
All right. Yeah. It's good stuff, though.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the big one. No wrong answers. What is your philosophy, perspective, opinion, anything at all when it comes to this? Is it even a thing, this concept of work-life balance?
I like that. It has shifted a lot over the last few years. I'll steal a little bit from Chris Terlica, our CEO at MaintainX, who kind of participated in that shift of it's all life. Right. So if you really love what you're doing important work that is motivating. It's all part of it. So you get what you need to do done when you need to do it. You take the time that you need to be with your family, for yourself. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, no, I like it. And no wrong answers, because everybody's got a different perspective. We want to inspire people to think. Certainly, we want them to know some of the other things we talked about in this episode when it comes to the article you wrote. I encourage everybody to check that out. That is on automation.com. Just to remind everybody, the title of that article is AI is Reshaping Frontline Manufacturing. Here's what comes next. And that was written by Peter Daigle. And also, for everyone, you can find Peter on LinkedIn if you want to learn more. Maybe get connected with him, and you can check out MaintainX at MaintainX.com or getMaintainX.com and tell him CMMS Radio sent you. Peter Daigle, thank you so much for being here with me on CMMS Radio.
Thank you so much. It was great to be here.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.